Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lilu Nishmasi Mimirasi Rusbas Mordechai Zchus Akiva Simcha Ben Feiga. Today was a very special day here in MDY. One of the stars, Akiva Solway, got an Aliyah today, laying from the Torah. He's been with us since Brachas. He writes every single week in Aryeh Merkaz. He's been an inspiration for many, many adults. They see his asmada. He hasn't missed a day. His finger is on the place. If you look in the video, he's on the table. He sits 4 or 5 seats down from me every day. His finger looks in. He has good kashas. It's unbelievable. Rabbi Isai, I want to share with you a story that's one of the most emotional stories that I've come through here in MDY. We talk about bringing other people to Torah, giving other people the opportunity to learn, inspiring others to finish a Masechta. There's a very chashuv bacher from Eshat Torah that's been with us a few times for Siyumim. His name is Evan Handel. And Evan has a very good friend, Joshua Carr. And he spoke to him and convinced him to learn and take upon himself the Daf Yomi and learn Maseches Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Isai, I'm telling you, it's worth watching this video, every word. Please don't talk during the video. A woman from New York, she did me a favor yesterday, last minute, and she put subtitles. He has an English accent, so I asked that there should be some subtitles. And this is Joshua Carr. And now, Rabbi Isai, pay attention to the video for a second. It'll be about 2 minutes.
I'd like to start off by thanking my good friend Evan Handel from Yeshiva, who inspired me to start doing Daf Yomi. I first opened the Gemara when I was age 14 at school and absolutely hated it and never wanted to be in the lessons. I next touched the Gemara in January 2020 while studying at Leeds University, 4 years after leaving school. And when I found that, because the reason I started was
I just want to preface that Evan, since a very young age, Joshua, since a very young age, maybe 3 years old, he was in and out of hospitals, had different conditions. And with that, keep on going.
I was surprised and very inspired that my dad had started doing Daf Yomi with his new friends here in Israel. So I said to Evan, I'll start Maseches Rosh Hashanah, which I actually done the majority of whilst at Yeshiva over the past year. We learn in Maseches Taanis, the path of the just, that this world, Olam Hazeh, is just the corridor to the world to come. Obviously, I never wish death upon myself or upon anyone, but when someone passes, as Jews, people often say, they're in a better place now to comfort friends and family. Before learning and understanding what the world to come was, I never really put 1 and 2 together and understood the spiritual meaning behind this. So after being in Yeshiva and doing more research, I was asking such questions. Over the past few weeks, I've been asking such questions as, if Olam Haba is so spiritual and lofty, and you're closer to Hashem than ever, why didn't the doctors let me be in Shemayim with my grandparents and closer to our Creator? Recovering from surgery isn't fun. Why me, I often asked. From being so happy that I was relieved from ICU to being in a regular ward and then coming home, recovery isn't fun. You always want more. The same with anything in life. You have £100, you want £1,000. I'm home and I'm more thankful than ever to be here. As I've learnt, and I'm about to explain, it's about having gratitude for what we do have, and I have immense gratitude to Hashem to be with you all here today. The more mitzvot we do, the greater portion we have in the world to come. But we all are guaranteed a place in the world to come because we are all part of Hashem. And this made me realize why I'm so thankful to be alive, celebrating my first Siyum Masechta. The world to come isn't going anywhere. I do have a purpose in this world, and Hashem wants me to enjoy this world both through physicality and spiritually. What I mean is, may we all merit to enjoy life as much as we can. As the famous saying goes, you only live once. and as much as you can, you should serve Hashem by being a genuine, good, kind person, full of gratitude. To me, gratitude is what brings us all closer together. Gratitude has taught me a lot. It's not about what we don't have, on our misfortunes, or what we are unable to do. It's about what we do have and what we're blessed to be with.
Rabbi Isai, imagine if Josh, didn't meet Evan, and Evan didn't convince him to finish the Masechta. Joshua was nifter 2 days ago, and he was buried yesterday in Ranana. I was a wreck when I heard this. Pashat a wreck. Evan is here with us today. He's sitting here right next to me. He came from Esha Torah, and he wants to say a word. It's unbelievable. Just 20-something days before he's nifter, he made his first and only siyum on a Masechta. Evan, come. Please say a few words.
Josh was an incredibly special person. He had such an impact on everyone in yeshiva, and one of the most unbelievable special things was his genuine love for Torah. The day after he committed to learning 100 daf this year, basically in my honor, he ended up in the hospital. And after being sedated, he woke up 15 days late into Rosh Hashanah. And one of the first things he woke up saying was, how am I going to catch up on the daf? And he was incredibly, incredibly special. And I had no clue what I was doing when I sent him the shiur. I had no clue that he was going to commit to it and this was what was going to take off. And all of a sudden it became such a big thing for him and his family and everyone around him. And one of the lasting messages that he left us with was gratitude and gratitude for life. So one thing that I want to pass on is I'm incredibly thankful for the Chabura and Rav Eli for inspiring me, to allow me the opportunity to pass it on to a friend, to allow him to accomplish one of the greatest spiritual accomplishments he'll probably ever have in his life. And thank you to everyone here, and thank you to Rav Eli, and one last thing to Josh, to Yeshua Aryeh Coane. I just want to say, I'm going to miss you, and I'm going to miss you a lot, and thank you for everything that you taught me.
Go ahead. All right, Rabbi Isai, that's why it's very, very important to learn Torah whenever we can. Nobody knows. I mean, we always think death is by him, by that family over there. And we never know. Nobody knew. Nobody realized. You see him here talking at a siyum. So Yishkayach Evan for giving him that gift. And now we'll try to learn. Lila Nishmasu will try to say his name every day. He's one of the Chabura. He learned every single daf with us of Rosh Hashanah. Yeshua Aryeh B'Kayim Ben Yonatan Chaim B'Malka Esther. His neshama should have an aliyah. The Parnas HaChodesh V'Koilel is Chaim. Maseches Taanis is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. Refuah shleima from Miriam Esther Bas devora. The Parnas HaChodesh, the Hanas Brothers, in honor of the Hanasabzadeh and Krispin Benazera Families, and Shlomo Lalezarian for inspiring us to join MDY. Parnas HaChodesh, RL 97 Akiva Tepper for introducing me to Rebelli's Daf. Parnas HaChodesh, Daniel and Tzirel Coane. I guess that's how you pronounce it, yeah? Zchus for Refuah shleima for Gavriel Binyamin ben Tzirel Fruma. Maitala Lieberman in memory of Moshe Mordechai ben Aryeh, Shimon and Shalhevet Solway. We got to come back into our boys in honor of our son Akiva's bar mitzvah, and in memory of Akiva's maternal grandmother Sarah Bas Peretz and paternal grandfather Meshulam Feivel ben Shimon. Eli Baim and Shlomo Hamer in honor of Tzaddik Rav Akiva Solkowitz F94. Yartzeit of Yitzchak Isaac ben Yehuda Leib Pei Tevis. Oh, by Akiva Solkowitz in honor of Neil Tepper F84 and finishing Shas. You hear this? What's going on here? I didn't even realize. Eli Baim and Shlomo Hamer, they gave an honor to Akiva Solkowitz, and Akiva Solkowitz gave an honor of Neil Tepper F84 and finishing Shas. Mazel Tov on finishing Shas. Ezzy Zwigenhaft, in honor of Benny, SI 43, Staten Island, I guess. Tzvi Fein, in honor of the 17th yard of my father, Chaim Shragi ben Tzvi Doiv. By Moshe Hirsch, Refuah shleima for Shoshana Esther Bas, Masha Necha. Rabbi, I just want to say, well, going into something very, very positive. A little bit of rumbling behind the scenes. We all know about the tremendous chabura of the Hatzal guys. The MDY committee, they call themselves. Today, they're over 300 guys. 300 guys. And it's a tremendous honor to announce that this is the big surprise that I was talking about yesterday. To me, it's a surprise, and it's a big Zchus that they decided, that clique decided to do a universal siyum for all of Borough Park and Flatbush and invite everybody to the siyum. It's Shlomo Rand. A lot of it has to do with our own Yeshua Aaron Price, Mark Ashkenazi, guys behind the scene. But Be'ezer Hashem, it says here on the bottom that there will be a raffle for an art school shas for those who RSVP and prepay. We're not doing that here in Bet Shemesh, but it's a great idea. I like it. We'll give a barekis or something for we can't afford the stuff, these Atzala guys. Shas, we're giving a shas if you bring 26 guys to the shir and you put it in there. Okay. Please join the Flatbush and Borough Park MDY family. Unbelievable. Mega siyum. So look out for that. And now for some Torah. We are holding Rabbi Isai Daf Amud Beis in middle of the very wide lines. B'may komifligi. So, to remind everybody, we had a machloikis here yesterday. On basically, whatever your tefillah is on that day, of a Taanis, of a Maimed, on Yom Kippur, whatever the tefillah is, it happens to be Yom Kippur has 4 tefillahs, it has Musaf and Ne'ilah together, and the other ones don't have. But whatever your tefillah is, where do you duchen? So we had Shitas Remeir, you duchen everywhere. Every single tefillah, whether it's Mincha Ne'ilah, doesn't matter. Then we have Shitas Reb Yehuda, that only the first 2, Shachris and Musaf, not Mincha Ne'ilah. And then we have Shitas Reb Yosi, as we're going to see in the Gemara, that we paskin like Reb Yosi, and that is, we don't duchen in one, by Mincha, but everywhere else we duchen. Says the Gemara, but mycomifically, based on what is this machlokes? Remeir Sovar, Kol Yoima Taima Maili Parsi Kahani Adayu B'Minchasa. Why is it that during the weekday we don't do Nesias Kapayim? Now, Kol Yoima, by the way, means literally every day. Every day. So if you're a Sephardi, you do Nesias Kapayim, duchening, every day, even in Chutz La'aretz. I believe, that's what I was told. And in Eretz Yisrael, if you live in Eretz Yisrael, I think almost everybody does Nesias Kapayim every day in honor of the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon's Talmidim came here and they established they do Birkas Kehanim, and I don't think anybody argued on it even, yeah? Up north, they don't. They didn't hear about the Gaon yet. Okay. Up north, they don't. I thought maybe Lubavitch wouldn't take it on, but I saw Avram Fried himself on Shabbos, the Shabbos duchening. And I wanted to ask him, I didn't see him go back and forth. So I don't know if it's a minig of Lubavitch or not. I have no idea. First time I noticed. And again, I was peeking. Fine.
Lubavitch does what the area does. Like they keep one day when they're in Israel, they keep 2 days in America. Whatever the minig of makom is, that's what they do.
How about if they're in Panovich? Do they do that? I don't think so. It's not everywhere. Almost everywhere. Okay. Yeah. So says the Gemara. And I heard of Maisa. I heard that when Reb Shteiman flew to America that one time, he was makbet to daven only in a Sephardi shul so that he could hear Birkas Kehanim every day. Why don't you do duchening at Mincha Mishum Shichros? Ha'idna. What does the idna mean? Right now, today's a fast day. Like a Shichros, nobody's eating or drinking, so there's no concern. Therefore, you could duchen even in Mincha, and certainly in the Ila. Review the Savar, but review the whole. Shachas and Musaf to call Yom Shichros. Hopefully nobody gets drunk and goes to the Kiddush club during Musaf, and therefore there's no Shichros by Shachas and Musaf. So there's no Gzeira. Mincha v'Ne'ilah. They call Yom Shichros. I don't care about today. Yeah, today's a fast day. But what about yesterday? What about tomorrow? People are used to being drunk during the afternoon, so you got to get them used to not duchening by mincha gazer barabanan. Rabbi Yossi savar mincha the isa b'chol yoyma gazer barabanan. Mincha that you have every day gazer barabanan. Ni'ila the less b'chol yoyma like gazer barabanan. Says Rabbi Yossi, and that's the final shita. There is duchening at ni'ila. Why? Because it's not something that's common every day, and therefore there's no gzeira on something that's not common. Oh, Rabbi Yehuda Rav, halacha kiremeir. Says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav, the halacha is like the first shita, you duchen at every davening, not so fast. Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha is not like that, but that's what the minig is, and it's a good minig. V'Rav Amar minig kirebi meir. So what's the difference between nahagu, the olam, feared like that? They use that minhag or minhag kiremeir. Says the Gemara, man, don't Allah kiremeir. So there's three different sayings here. If you hold that the halacha is like that, then the rabbi gets up before Yom Kippur or whatever it is, and he says, Rabbi Sai, you have to do Nesias Kapayim, every single one of these mincha and musaf. Be careful. Remember, don't listen to anybody that tells you not to. This is the halacha. Man do minhag midrash le'darshinon. It's a good minhag, it's a kosher minhag, but the rabbi's not going to get up and talk about it in public. But if somebody comes over, hey rabbi, what should I do? Should I duchen? It's mincha. Should I go ahead and duchen? I'm not going to say it in public. And finally, Rav says, if you come to the rabbi and say, hey rabbi, should I duchen now mincha? He won't answer you. If the guy goes up there to duchen by mincha, you don't grab him by the neck and throw him out of it. Okay. Rav Nachman Amar, halacha Rabbi Yossi, that you duchen everything besides mincha. The halacha Rabbi Yossi says the Gemara at the end of the day, that's the halacha. You see a little dollar there, that's what the Shulchan Aruch is mitzayin. Mitzayin in the Shulchan Aruch, that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, and that's what we do. Why is it in our days, in those days when there was series of fasts, the Coane does duchening by Taanis, given the Besal, the Shkia Chama comparison. Since it's so close to Shkia, it's very similar to Ne'ilah. Now, Rashi points out that they used to daven Mincha G'dayla, but if you daven Mincha Ktani, daven so close to Shkia, then you could duchen. Look at Taisus for a second, bottom Taisus. This is the reason why we don't duchen on Yom Kippur. You daven mincha when there's much time left to the day. But in other fast days, that it's so close to the Shkia, then you could do Nesias Kapayim. Says the Gemara, at the end of the day, if you're drunk, you can't duchen. How do we know this? 5 lines from the bottom. The parashas Nazir. Why is the parasha of the Coane who benches? The parashas Nazir to the one who drinks, who's not allowed to drink wine. So too, a Coane who benches the congregation, he's usher in wine. This is chartzon, Rabbi Sai, the seeds of a grape, in case you don't know what they look like, not the grapes itself, but the after product, the seed. If a nazir is not allowed to eat these, snack on these, so too the Coane. You're comparing a Coane to a nazir. This is Misharis, somebody performs the Avodah, Ulevarech, and that the one who says, Yivarech Hashem Yishmerecha, Ma, Misharis Muta B'chartzon, Av Koyen, Mevarech Muta B'chartzon. What? Ima, Misharis Balmum Loi, Av Koyen Mevarech Balmum Loi. So, but a guy that's doing that Avodah, he's not permitted. Yeah, so a guy who's Misharis, who does that Avodah, who's shechting a carbon, he's allowed to snack on these seeds. A nazir is not allowed to snack on the seeds. But if you're comparing a masharis to mavarach, the guy that's bringing the carbon to the guy that's doing nesias kapayim, well, the guy that's doing the carbon can't be a balmum. So maybe if a guy's balmum, he's lame, he shouldn't be able to do duchen. Says Gemara, ha'iskash lenazir, umay chazim mashi lekula. So the Gemara says, no, you do compare it to a Nazir. And a Nazir doesn't matter if he's a Baal Mum or not. A Nazir who's a Baal Mum, he's still a Nazir. So too, a guy that's duchening, compared to a Nazir, and he could duchen. Usually when you have a hekesh, you go to the extreme, you take it l'chumra. Why all of a sudden today are we going l'kula, letting him off the hook easy? Yeah, you could snack on chartzanim. Why? At the end of the day, it's not a real hekesh. It's only like the Rabbanon kind of learning from the Torah, and therefore anything the Rabbanon we could go l'kula. We learned in the Mishnah, Elohei Ma'amadais. These are the different groups that represent Klal Yisrael. And then the next word in the Mishnah, what should the next word be? Elohei Ma'amadais. It should start saying what a Ma'amad is, who they are, what they are. Instead, it says, Lefi shenemar tzavis b'nei Yisrael. It starts going into the whole Torah instead of telling me an answer. Elohei Ma'amadais. What are the Ma'amadais? X, Y, Z. No. Tells me a possible. Michael Amar, what does it mean? And now I'm going to explain to you why. What is this whole Ma'amadais? You can't just say Elu Ma'amadais without explaining beforehand what it is. If you're in a Mishnah, we never saw the concept before Mishnahs. We saw it in Gemara, but not in Mishnah. You have to be there and see the carbon. How could you do it? How can you bring a carbon tamid every single morning when you don't have millions of Jews standing there and watching it? And therefore, they divided Klal Yisrael into 24 groups. And each Mishmar had a Maimad. They stood there, the Kohanim, the Levim. We said yesterday maybe the Kohanim and Levim were part of the Avodah, part of the Maimad. This is also Yisraelim in the Maimad. Igiyaz ma Mishmar la'alois. Kohanim Levim Oilam Yerushalayim. Now they have to perform. What? What they do in front of they had a kasha. I don't know. Maybe there was representation, just it wasn't organized. Maybe it wasn't organized in a 24 group thing. Here you have different people. Why should I live in Yerushalayim? I want to live up north. So they force you. They took people from these Ma'amadis and they forced them into Yerushalayim. From the 24 groups, they took representatives. They had to stay in Yerushalayim. He gives Ma Mishmal Alis, kind of Levim, Oilim Yerushalayim. Tanarabban. Esim Arba Mishmaris Beretz Yisrael Ushtem Yisrael B'Yerichai. You have 24 in Eretz Yisrael plus 12 in Yerichai equals 36. Ushtem Yisrael B'Yerichai in Efishin Lutuva. We know it's 24, not 36. 36 is too high of a number. Elo Ushtem Yisrael Mehem B'Yerichai. Half of the 24 ended up in Yerichai. What's pshat? It gives Ma Mishmal Alis. Chatzim Mishmal Oilam Eretz Yisrael Yerushalayim. So we're in a group. We represent Klal Yisrael. We're from Tzfat. So we start moving. It's our week next week. So we start going towards Yerushalayim. And half of the 24, half of the group goes to Yerichai. Why? I guess Yerichai was a happening place. That's where all the manufacturing happened. That's where they produced the wine or whatever they needed. So half the Olam stayed behind in Yerichai. They had to get things going. The lucky guys got to go to Yerushalayim, perform that Avodah, but it's all one group. We're all part of it. This guy does X, this guy does Y, and it's a team effort. Unbelievable. Big Yisai, you want to look into it, think about it, but a carbon cannot exist without all of Klal Yisrael. You need the Coane, you need the Levi, you need the Tzirel. If you don't have a Levi, it's no good. You don't have the Coane, it's no good. You need representation from all three groups. Ma'akiv is a carbon. Some Rishonim learn it's not 100% ma'akiv. It doesn't really mean ma'akiv. Okay, just push a pshat ma'akiv. It's you throw out the carbon. Let's say you find out there's no Levi in the Beis Hamikdash. Just take the carbon, toss it in the garbage, and start all over. B'masni satana. It says in the Brayso, Reb Shimon Lalezarian kohanim levim uklei shir ma'akiv is a carbon. It is. He's masking. You need Yisraelim also. He's not flipping. He's not exchanging. He's just adding. You need also musical instruments. Specifically, the flute, says Rashi. The abuv, Khalil, the flute. What's machlekes? Why would one say you don't need a flute? The other one says you do need a flute. We have Levim. They do a phenomenal job. So, why are you smiling? You know you're Levi. I see you like all excited. You ready? You ready for Beis Hamikdash? Why are you so serious?
Big job. We got cries.
It's a chayz. It's a lot of geschmack. But you Levim are a lot less than Kohanim, you notice, right? No, I'm serious. There's a lot less in Shul, usually, in numbers. No, so you're going to be there a lot more often than anybody else. Okay, get ready. And since you were in Miami Boys Choir and you ran a choir, you're going to have to run the whole oilam over there. So for you it's serious, for him it's easy. Fine. What? How many are there in the room? More. Oh, there's more than Kohanim. Wow. 10 Levim. Akiva, you don't count. You're not bar mitzvah. Sit down. Gary. Mar Sovar Ikashir Bapeh. Umar Sovar Ikashir Bakli. Okay, so how are we gonna? There's a machlekes, and we had this machlekes right before. What's the most important part of the shira? Is it the vocal or it's the instrument? That's the shayla. You know how to play instruments? So you better start getting ready. There's Sussman. Simcha Sussman got the voice and he got the guitar. Okay. So the actual mishmaros, this we learn here, it's hard to see it in the pasuk, but it says that the kohanim are going to divide the portions besides that they already made up beforehand. Mimkarav ala avais, the forefathers already made up groups. So there's nothing to divide; it's already made up. Now, the Gemara goes like this, very very simple. Omar Rav Chama bar Guria Omar Rav Moshe tikin lem Yisrael shmanim shmaros. This is Rav Chama, and then the Gemara is going to argue on him for a second, and we're going to go back to him. First, Moshe Rabbeinu came along. It doesn't say in the Torah what you saw over here. It doesn't say how many. It says basically we learn from Miriam make mishmaros, but it doesn't say how many. So Moshe decided I'm going to make it 8. 8. How? Shmanim mishmaros. Arba Malazar, Arba Mitamar. There's only 2 kohanim left. They are the fathers of the families. 4 for Elazar, 4 for Itamar. But Shmuel ve'emidim ashesh esrei. Later generation, Shmuel Hanavi comes along and increases the green line to 16. Okay. But David ve'emidim aleser ve'arba. So Rav Chama says there's 3 steps here. There's Moshe Rabbeinu, then there's Shmuel, and then there's David HaMelech finally, who increased it all the way up to 24 mishmaros. Great. Shenemar b'shnas harabayim l'malchus David nidrushu v'yimatzav b'hem giborei achayil b'yazer gilad. What do you see from this pasuk? You see that in this pasuk that David HaMelech was already alone. Shmuel was already nifter at this point. He increased it by himself. Meisvei Moshe tikin l'nei Yisrael shmonim mishmaros. Question: if you look over here, it says that Moshe did 8. But what's the next step? Arba Malazar Arba Mitamar. That's the same. But David and Shmuel, in one swift motion, the 2 of them together increased it from 8 to 24. There's no middle Shmuel, according to this brisa. Shenemar, hey Mo Yisad, David Shmuel, Haroy ben Munasam. Both of them, they were miyasid it. Says the Gemara, Yisad shel David Shmuel, Haramasi Emudim Alesim Arba. It's not that pshat that it went from 8 to 24 together. Together, Shmuel here and David here at 2 different times, together, it became 24. Not that in one day. Over a period of time, the 2 of them together got it to 24. I don't know if it's a good time to say this because somebody told me you shouldn't. Well, that time that I forgot who it was, but the Bulls were playing and Michael Jordan scored a ton of points. And after the game, he scored, I think it was like 60 points. So the center, whoever it was, Bill Cartwright, he goes, Michael and I, we joined together to score 61 points. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so now together, together, that's what they meant. Together. I was talking about together. What do you mean? You thought I meant individual. Not together. At the end of the day, we both had 24. Okay. The answer is that we weren't going in who did it. They're in the same generation. They lived together. So you should know that it ended up 24. I'm just telling you the final thing. Look. No, Shmuel did it. No. We're going together. Yeah, Shmuel did 16 and David did to 24. Together, they got from 8 to 24. Right. No, it was... We know Moshe Rabbeinu. No, we know that... Time out. We know Moshe Rabbeinu did this. 8. How do we get to 24? You should know history. He had a big part of it over the years. Maybe David would have. I don't know. But the bottom line, we know that Shmuel did 16. He did 24. So it was a group effort. And you can go back to my mashal. You understand the mashal better now. Tanya Yidach. Moshe digin lem Yisrael sheisher mishmaros. Shmoinim Elazar, Shmoinim Itamar. So now we have a different problem. Over here it says that Moshe Rabbeinu was a Mesakin 4 and 4. This right over here is the question. It says 8 and 8. 8 plus 8 is Moshe Rabbeinu. Shmoinim Elazar, Shmoinim Itamar. Ukshrab b'nei Elazar, b'nei Itamar. Cholkim v'midim elazar arba. Now, later on, he increased only Elazar, because Elazar was growing quicker than Itamar. So he decided to increase Elazar to 16, leave Elazar at 8, and together we have a 24. Nothing to do with David HaMelech and Shleima. It says, so look at this pasuk. It's not even a question. It says, for Elazar there was how many? 16. And for Yitamar there's 8. A total of 24. It's not even a question. Anytime the Gemara says this word, it brings up the following question. Why do you need va'omer? One pasuk is always enough for us. We don't need 2, 3, 5. We get the point. One pasuk in the Torah is ironclad raya. I don't need more. So what does it say? It's not even such a strong raya over here. Va'omer, not as strong as the first pasuk. The first pasuk is mamish before 16 plus 8. Va'omer, base of he'echad achos le'elazar, and this means, by the way, it means you add one more. You had 8. You add another 8 to Elazar. Va'achos achos li'samar, almost the opposite of what you would maybe read if you. Va'achos achos. In other words, it remained for Itamar. Itamar remained. Itamar was 8 to begin with. Achos achos remained. So I have another raya that Elazar doubled up. Itamar remained. Why do I need another raya? Maybe just like Elazar was doubled up, so too was Itamar doubled up. In other words, the only way Itamar got to 8 was that Moshe Rabbeinu doubled him up from 4 to 8. Maybe that's how it happened. So I'm telling you no. I'm telling you it started out at 8 and it was always 8. Never was there a time in history when Itamar had 4 mishmaros only. That's all. Maybe the only way he grew to 8 was because he started at 4. Tashmano he was always, we didn't add anything to Itamar, and Memelo, that means he was always 8. At the end of the day, Rav Chaim Bar Gurya said what? That is 4 plus 4. Right over here, Moshe only gave 8 total. Over here you see, Moshe Rabbeinu gave 16 total. Or at least 16 in the beginning. You're right. I give up. There's Tanaim here. Okay. You brought me a Tana that says 16. I'm going to go with the Tana that says 8. Rabbi says, here's the story. A famous story. It's Kedai to say over maybe. There was a real Amarit that had a big tzaddik in his house. And one night he wakes up and he hears crying coming out of the room of the tzaddik. So he knocks on the door. Rebbe, what's going on? He says, what do you mean what's going on? I'm doing tikkun chatzos. He says, what's tikkun chatzos? He explains to him. You sit on the floor right about chatzos and midnight and you wear a sack, you put some ashes on your head. You cry about the Churban Beis HaMikdash and you want Mashiach. He says, Mashiach, what's Mashiach? Explains to him. He says, Mashiach is going to take all of Klal Yisrael and bring them up to Eretz Yisrael. He says, let me ask my wife. So he goes and he asks his wife. He comes flying back. He says, my wife said that we have a couple chickens, we have cows. We're not interested. We can't go there. How are we going to schlep all the stuff? We need it over here. So he says to the guy, he says, but there's Kozakim over here. Kozaks, what are you going to do? They shepherded Jews over there. It's going to be nice. So he goes back to his wife. And he says, let me ask my wife. He goes to his wife and he comes back. And he says, my wife said, take all the Kozaks and we're staying over here. So you go there. That's what it says over here. Arba mishmaris alu min hagoyla. 4 out of the 24 came back up to Eretz Yisrael. Says Rashi, V'lei ratzu la'alois. The other guys didn't want to come. We're going to leave America. We have this business and this business. They don't want to come. Only 4 came. Says the Gemara, Ve'elohein, which are the 4? Yedaya, Chorim, Pashchur. Rashi says, I don't know where this name came from. It's not in the list, the original list. Vimer. Okay, so we have Yedaya, Chorim, Pashchur, Vimer. So they come back there to Yisrael. You're supposed to divide everything into 24 groups, and we only have 4 groups. What are we going to do? They took the 4 and gave each one 6. We made 6 out of 1. So now we have a total of 24. 4 families instead of 24 families. 24. We just turned to Daf Amud Beis, sponsored by Aaron Strook in honor of my parents Josh and Naomi Strook and Lezeicha Nishmas Arben Shimon Coane, first Yortzeit Chav Teva. Sponsored anonymously as a Zchus for Shidduchim for my siblings and myself. And in case you weren't here by the emails, I got to tell you a beautiful, beautiful thing that happened. Well, you should watch it anyways because it's pretty emotional for me. I was a wreck yesterday for at least an hour. But I want to talk about this one more time because this is a tremendous thing happening within MDY. MDY is known for Achdus and all types of people and all the groups and all of this and all of that. And here's a real show of Achdus where the younger guys who, let's just say, maybe they can't stand the older chayvra and the nerds, whatever. They do their own thing. They came together, they said, we want one siyum for Borough Park and Flatbush. We're not going to just do a Borough Park, not a flat, and not just Hatzalah, not Hatzalah. Everybody, Am Echad, so it's a tremendous thing. It's a tremendous show of Achdus. So please sign up. Now another thing also, I want to mention that in the 5 towns, Binyamin Schwartz, again, is going out of his way, and he do a tremendous, tremendous thing. He reserved the whole Chinese restaurant. So please, if you're in the 5 towns, please look him up. Let's go. We can't get back in though. We could go. We can't get back in. It's worth it. You go. I need a bit. They asked me to do the seam over here. Huh? Shalom Aleichem. What's your name, Tzadik? Eliyahu Mordechai. Shalom Aleichem. From where? Bet Shemesh. Yefeh. Shalom Aleichem. Okay. Anyways, you go to MDYSeum, it is mdyseum.com, and register for both Borough Park and 5 towns and all the other. There's one in Austria again. Yeah, the guy we had last time in Austria, the same guy that did the big simcha, his first siyum, he's doing another one. Austria sounds the best. All right, Zok the Gemara. Check it out. There's like 17, 18 places. Zok the Gemara. What do they do? Listen to this, Rabbi said, beautiful stuff. They made a raffle. And they put all 24 names into a box. What happened was, big Ruach HaKodesh happened there. Yedaya, he's not the first one of the 24. But from what was left and the ones that came back to Yisrael, he was the number. Let's say he was, I didn't look at the list this time. I had the list. But let's say Yedaya is number 8, just for argument's sake. Number 8. So, Chasher, whatever, the other names over here, they're number 10, 11, 12. So he's the first one in the list that came back to Yisrael. So therefore he's 1. Nobody else. 1 through 8 stayed in Bavel. So he's number 1. So he goes first. He sticks his hand into 24. What does he pick out? He picks out his name. He picks out his family's names. He doesn't pick out anybody else's family's names. It's Ruach HaKodesh. That's what happens here. He sticks his hand in 6 times in a row, and he pulls out his cards, only his cards. Yeah, so something like this. This is real quick. The guy made fun of me on his podcast that I use word, and I think, fine. He's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yedaya, he gets all his things right. The next one in line. Even if number 1 originally in Eretz Yisrael, Yayarev, who decided to stay in Chutz La'aretz. shows up one day, even if he shows up, he's Rosh Mishmar Zayla. Lo yidacha yidaya memkayma. Yidaya always is in the beginning. He's number one forever. Why? Because he made Aliyah and nobody else made Aliyah. Eli yidaya ikar v'yarev tafalai. What happens? So just pay attention for a second. Very, very simple. I put it over here. Yidaya has 6, but Yarev showed up. He wants to be part of. What do you know? He's going to America? But he's Yarev. He was number 1. He wants to perform the Avodah. We stick him in. What do? We take away one of Yedaya's Mishmaros. Now we condense 6 into 5, and we give number 6 to Yarev. Yes, understood? Avi, could you repeat? Nachamal. You have 6 Mishmaros. You take the 6, you make them 5, and number 6 becomes Yarev. Somebody else comes in. We're going to have to start condensing again, going back until each family just gets 1 Mishmar instead of 6. So the Jews who represent, they start reading what's going on here? First of all, you should know that if not for the fact that these people represent Klal Yisrael, the world will be destroyed. Avram Avinu said, Hashem Elikim b'ma eda ki yerushena. Hashem, how do I know that your promise is going to be kept? Omar Avram. Ribono shel olam. Omar Avram. Ribono shel olam. So Avram is talking to Ribono shel olam. Shema Yisrael chaytim lefanecha. How am I guaranteed that forever, this promise is going to stay forever? What if they're really bad? Maybe we wipe them out. Omar le'elav. No way. Omar lefanecha Ribono shel olam. Hoydeni b'ma yerushena. How am I going to Yarshin? How are they going to do Shuvah? How is this going to happen? In other words, take 3 animals of each through the carbon. This is how you do Shuvah, through the carbon. Now, says the Gemara, that's why I have my mothers. What's this my mother's business? What's going on here? Represent. But what are they doing? They're davening the whole time. And when they daven, they make sure that the carbon goes up, that it's a real, true carbon, that we do tshuva with it. No. So that's why, what does that have to do with our sugya? That's why we say Ma'aseh Bereishis. Think about it. That's why we say Ma'aseh Bereishis, because we are creating the world every day anew. Without these korbanos, world is destroyed. So they are being mekayim the world. They have to say Ma'aseh Bereishis every day. This is going to be very scary. Rabbi, I advise you don't even listen to this. This is especially for me. What are you going to do? Say the korbanos. You're supposed to say korbanos before davening in the morning. If you say korbanos, it's as if you brought a carbon. There was a Yid in Yerushalayim, his name was Rav Naftali Greenbaum. He wanted to improve the korbanos. You realize people don't really say it, they come to shul. In my case, it should be Psukkah de Zimra, whatever, we're not going to go there. If you're here, you know, because I go on Zoom when everybody's davening, unfortunately, and they come in the last minute. But he challenged Doilam. He says, I'm giving away 50,000 shekel, approximately $10,000 in those days. Anybody that can bring me a source, they don't have to say korbanos in the morning. You don't have to think about it. So a guy ran into Rebbe Yashiv. He says, Rebbe, help me out. I need $10,000. Give me the source. So Yashiv told him, listen, I'm also always rushing through korbanos. If you find the source, please come back and tell me. Says the Gemara, so we have the group that's in Yerushalayim. So they stand there and they say, Ribono shel olam, bring up the carbon, accept the carbon. Anshi Maimed, what is Anshi Maimed? The guys outside of Yerushalayim, but they're also part of the group. Remember, this guy's in Yericho, this guy's in Miskanzel Beis HaKnesses, V'yoshrim, Arba, Taniyos. They sit in shul and they fast. B'sheni b'Shabbos, b'Shlishi, b'Revi'ah, b'Chamishi. B'sheni, why do they fast on Monday? Al Yordei Hayam. Because the second day of creation, it says about the water, right? Says the Gemara, B'shlishi al hoilchem midbaros. Why did they daven? They daven for the people traveling through the desert. As it says in the third day, B'seraya Basha talks about the earth. B'revi al askara shaloi tipol al tinoikos. That there's a disease called askara. It's a breathing disease. We daven for them. Says Rashi, very interesting, because in the fourth day it says Yuma Oiros, the lights. But if you take it says it without a vav. Without a vav, it's me'eros, it's the curse. And what's the curse? Askara. Now, if you look over here in Agoyz V'Tziyunim, it says very interesting that the first Lashon Hara was between the moon and the sun. And that's why we daven this. On the first Lashon Hara, you hear this? The first Lashon Hara ever was on Wednesday, the fourth day of creation. Says the Gemara. Where did I just take? They sit and they fast. We said this. No, sorry. That's what we're holding. Sorry. So you're right. Very interesting Rashi. When was Adam created? On Shishi. But there's no fasting on Shishi. So we have to talk about Ubarais, pregnant women, nursing women, based on a pasuk Yishritzu Amayim, about fish. Okay? Ubar Shalayapilu, Menikas Shenikas. Okay, yeah, obviously. Ubar Shalayapilu, Menikas Shenikas B'nayim, that they should have enough milk and they shouldn't lose their pregnancy. Uber Shabbos Layim Misanim, Mipnik for the Shabbos. But on Friday, there's no tainus because of Shabbos. Kavachim Shabbos Hatzim, certainly you don't fast on Shabbos. Shabbos, my time why don't they fast on Sunday? Because of that new religion. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani Omar, Tzirel. Because it's 3 days after Adam Rishon was created, and on the third day, a person is weak, you don't fast on a Sunday, which is 3 days after he was created. Rabbi Shlokish Omar, Mipnei Neshama Yisera. Very interesting. A person gets a Neshama Yisera, extra Neshama. Says Rashi, says Rashi, the Neshama Yisera is for Achila and Shtia. If you ever wonder why every single Shabbos you gain 6 pounds, here it is. It's that Neshama Yisera helps you out. You always can pack it in. I don't know how, why, it works. Neshama Yisera. Now, since the Neshama Yisera leaves, now you're weak. So because you're weak, fine. Why Dafki Achila Shtia? Reb Shimon explains that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave a Shabbos so that we should enjoy. And he says that that's why it's Me'ein Olam Haba. Shabbos is Me'ein Olam Haba. Olam Haba obviously is pure Anah. So to give us the Anah that we understand is Achila, so he gave us that extra Achila so we should have Me'ein Olam Haba. Okay, fine. Zog the Gemara. We're almost done. Or Domer Shlakish, right? No, over there. Domer Shlakish said Nitno by Baldenberg. Shabbos, but it's Shabbos. Not going to see and that's why he's weak. Shenemar Shabbos Vayinofash. What is Vayinofash? And by the way, when do we say Shabbos Vayinofash? Hasidim especially, they say it. And so we don't say V'shamru, but Hasidim say it by V'shamru on Friday night. Why don't we say Vayinofash, which the Gemara says, Kivin Shabbos Vay of the Nefesh? It's a play on words that never we lost our neshama, so now we're weak. So Baal Shem Tov says that we say it in the beginning of Shabbos, not at the end of Shabbos, to tell us what are we about to have here, and what we could lose if we don't focus in. We got to focus that we have an Neshama Yisrael, and we're supposed to benefit from it. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day, and Joshua's Neshama should have an Aliyah.